All right, Mob, welcome back to your cream of the crop. Dig it, 4th and 31 podcast, your one stop shop for all things college and SEC football. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that bell so you never miss a minute. And hey, guys, on YouTube, if we get 1,000 likes, all you Big Ten guys, we'll go live and you can tell us how much we suck in real time, like live. So that ought to give you enough incentive. Just go hit subscribe on YouTube so you can insult us in real time. That'd be cool. All right, I'm your host, part of the Killer Bees broadcasting team, the Chad Bullock, and we have kind of a half show, literally. It's just me and the man, the myth, and the legend, Coach Bo. And guys, we're going to be kind of doing part two of what we did last show. We're going to take two SEC teams, compare their schedules, kind of give a way too early look at how we think they may finish. And we're going to keep these for later so we can see how stupid we looked for even attempting this. Coach Bo, we're going to start with Bama and the ATM out of College Station. We'll start with Bama. They start off with, and I want to go through these kind of quick because some of these are kind of an easy win-loss. So we'll go ECU at Kentucky versus Florida State. What you got on those three?
Win, 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 and Florida State, big revenge game there. Especially after what happened last year. The interesting part about that game is everybody talks about, dogged Alabama all year. Well, you lost to Florida State, you shouldn't get in. I mean, Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois, and they still got in. I mean, that's probably one of the most embarrassing losses a Power 5 team took in the last decade, for sure. But Florida State, the interesting thing about Florida State is they finished number 38 in the Las Vegas Power Poll. How the guys in the desert, the guys that make all the money, the guy that build the big, beautiful buildings where you can go get your nice buffets and watch the little dancing honeys in the little skimpy outfits dance on the stage.
Oh.
And they finished 38th in the power poll, so they were a little bit better as personnel wise than their record showed. But yeah, give me win, win, win.
All right. And for me, some of this is going to reflect the fact that Alabama is getting a new offensive line coach, which is absolutely huge. We just don't know who it is yet. We think he may be coaching in a game that's currently being played. Fingers crossed. Okay, so let's go game 4 and 5. South Carolina at Mississippi State. I say win-win. Start off 5-0. Bo?
Win-win for sure. And then, by the way, we let's just be honest here. It's the tight ends coach at for the Los Angeles Rams, Scott Huff. He was the offensive line coach in 23 when DeBoer was at Washington. They had the Joe Moore. The offensive line was awarded the Joe Moore Award. It makes a lot of sense. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, almost too much sense. Okay, so according to us, Bama starts 5-0. Now they get into the absolute meat of their schedule. The next four, probably four of the toughest weeks you could have in college football. You come home and play Georgia. What you got on that one?
Man, Bama has just seemed to be Georgia's kryptonite. I mean, I know they got us in the SEC title game. They beat us in the Natty a couple years ago. But Bama, for the most part, has handled Georgia pretty well. Given that game is at home, I like Bama, but I go 50-50 because, I mean, you know how talented Georgia is and how good Kirby is. They're going to have something. They're going to do something they haven't shown all year, and they're going to do it right at the right. They're going to show it right at the right time. So, just hopefully Bama will be ready. But I lean Bama because they're at home. But I still see anytime you deal with Georgia, man, it's at best a 50-50.
Yeah, and for me, this is one of my three toss-up games that I have is at home versus Georgia. They haven't beaten Alabama at home since '07 with Stafford. In some aspects, they're kind of due for good luck in Tuscaloosa, but that's one of my toss-ups. Game 7 at Tennessee, for me, that's another toss-up because Alabama has dropped their last two in Knoxville. Bo, what you got on this?
Yeah, that's a toughie too. As far as Tennessee goes, Tennessee having Jim Knowles, they're going to be at least minimum a touchdown better on defense than they were last year, maybe more. Tennessee recruits really well. They've worked the portal well. They lost some players, but they got some really good ones out of the portal. Just having Jim Knowles there is huge. I trust Josh Heupel with the offense, even though the quarterback has taken no snaps. I mean, he's a total unknown, but a very highly touted guy. Again, but I think that's a 50-50 proposition going to Tennessee.
Yeah, I've actually, the more I think about it, I'll give Tennessee a slight edge in that one because it's at Tennessee and Alabama's dropped their last two there. Okay, now we come home. Texas A&M, I think we'll win that one. Bo,
Yeah,
what you got on that one?
yeah, I like us in that one. I mean, Marcel Reed, the second half of the year, when the pass rush got tougher and the defenses got tougher, he didn't produce nearly as much as he did the first part of the year. Of course, he's going to be a year older. They worked the portal well. They got tons of talent in College Station. But yeah, I like Bama in that one still.
Yep. And then the grudge match of all grudge matches, I guess. Well, one of them. You go to LSU, a place where, I mean, Alabama has a higher winning percentage in Death Valley than LSU does all time, if that means anything, which it probably doesn't. But it's at LSU. I will give LSU a slight edge there. Bo, what you got on that one?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and be on record. I'll go ahead and take LSU in that one. I think that's a real toughie. But then those last three at Vandy win, Chattanooga win, Auburn win.
Yeah, I agree. I could see Bama going 10-2 next year, maybe 11-1 if they get one of those road wins. All right. Now to compare this schedule, we're going to compare it to ATM. First three, I think they'll start three. They got Missouri State, Arizona State, Kentucky. They're all at home. Bo.
Yeah, win, win, win.
Okay. At LSU, I think they lose that one pretty big. Bo.
Yeah, again, that's a revenge match. If you remember last year, that's the game that really set up Brian. That's the game that set up Brian Kelly to get fired. And those LSU's a proud program. Those guys got embarrassed in that game, and I'm sure they have that game circled big time. So I'll definitely take LSU in that one.
Yep. Next three guaranteed wins versus Arkansas, at Missouri versus Citadel, 3-0. What you got, Bo?
At Missouri could be tough. Who transferred there is their quarterback is his name escapes me. He was supposed to be the starter at Ole Miss last year. He started, got hurt, then Chambliss came in. Forget his name. Point is that Missouri may be better at quarterback this year. Austin Simmons? Is that his name?
That sounds right.
I can't remember.
I'll be honest, I don't remember either.
Yeah, I think Missouri may be better at quarterback this year than they were with Bo Pribula. He's a little bit better passer than Pribula, so that could be a toughie. I say that's a 50-50, but definite dub over Arkansas, definite dub over the Citadel. I mean, they could play their 3s, 4s, and 5s against the Citadel and win that one.
Yeah. All right. Next two are road games at Bama, which we've already said Zanelle, at South Carolina. I think they'll win that one, Bo.
They'll win it. That's going to be a tough matchup. And South Carolina, we'll talk about them. I'll give you some of the keys for South Carolina when we get to them. But I'll take ATM close.
Yeah. Hey, and I'll give South Carolina a huge compliment, Gamecock fans. That's probably the most underrated home field. One of the most underrated home field advantages in college football.
Not to mention the movie The Program. If you guys have never seen that, it's about college football in the early '90s. The last scene where they have the famous fumble pickup throw for the touchdown, that was actually in a game they actually filmed that at Williams-Brice, and the two teams were standing in the tunnels waiting to come out, and were actually watched the filming, and they only had one shot to get that in. And but anyway, there was a whole story on ESPN Online. It was really neat, but pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. All right, next game 10. They come home against Tennessee. That ought to be a pretty good one. I may go 50-50 on that one. Bo, what you got?
Yeah, I go 50-50 because I'm telling you, Tennessee's good. I mean, Tennessee took a little bit of a step back this past year. All that stuff that happened with Nico, don't think for a second, even though that was addition by subtraction, still it still uproots your program, and maybe Heupel couldn't go get the best guy he wanted. I mean, I thought Aguilar did a pretty good job, but it was almost kind of like that was the best of what he had available. As if everything would have happened earlier, then maybe he could have gone and got maybe one of those top guys in the portal, and Tennessee could have been even more dangerous. But Tennessee's going to be very dangerous now that they've got a real defensive coordinator. So, but I mean, I lean A&M's way, but don't sleep on Tennessee in that matchup.
Yeah. And then last two at Oklahoma, at Texas. I got both L's. What you got?
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, you finished the season, you got at South Carolina, Tennessee, at Oklahoma, Texas. They're gonna go probably 2-2 in those matchups.
I mean, before you stop there, go back one game. What do you got?
Oh
So
yeah, you got Bama, but I'm just about
yeah,
after you coming off the bye,
yeah,
and you got that bye, and you need to finish strong. I mean, they could go 0-4 in those games. They really could.
yeah. I mean, just depending on injuries and state of mind and how certain games work out. You never know.
Absolutely.
All right. So between these two, which one does Coach Bo? Between these two schedules, which one does Coach Bo prefer?
Oh, Bama's without question. Without question. A&M, that murderer's row there at the end of the season. That's that could be their death knell this year. See, last year A&M didn't have that. Their games, the two toughest games they had on their schedule were spread out, and and then they played a lot of the bottom half of the conference, which a lot of people said that they didn't feel like A&M quote unquote deserved to be there because they quote unquote didn't play anybody. I found it interesting. Ohio State, the best team they played, and this is just national perception, guys. The brands of the program. The best team that Ohio State played in the Big Ten in the regular season was Michigan, and they finished 5th. And the best team that A&M played was Texas, and I think they finished 5th or 6th. And everybody says A&M didn't deserve to be there, and everybody said Ohio State was the best team ever created. So I mean, it's all about perception of the brand. A lot of that.
All right. So ATM gets the schedule, gets the preferred schedule. All right. Let's go on to our next two. We got South Carolina and Vanderbilt. South Carolina opens Kentucky, Towson, Mississippi State, all three at home. I don't see why they couldn't win all three of those, Bo.
Oh, with ease, with ease. Yeah.
All right. So South Carolina starts off 3-0, goes to Alabama. It may be close. I think Alabama beats them. It could be a 27-20 game. South Carolina always seems to play Bama good.
It'll be close, but I'll say this, and I know we got South Carolina on the other side here, but they have to hit a home run with their offensive coordinator. Shula, I mean, Chad and I were talking about this before the show, how pathetic the coaching was in the Southeastern Conference last year. And I'm going to get into a little bit of that when we get done with this. But just looking at the draft and the talent that some of these teams had and how they just egregiously underperformed. But if South Carolina hits a home run and actually has a coordinator that can utilize Lenore Sellers properly, they could be a very dangerous team. Very dangerous. He's an NFL caliber talent. Nick Harbor's an NFL caliber talent. I mean, they've got 5 or 6 NFL guys on their offense right now. So if they get somebody competent in there that could run that offense, they could be dangerous. But I definitely say at Bama's a loss.
Yeah, and I think so. They 3-1. I think we both got them 3-1. So this game against Kentucky at home is a must-win if they're trying to get to a bowl game. I'll give them a W there since it's at home, Bo.
That could be a sneaky big-time game right there. Will Stein brings in the highly touted quarterback from Notre Dame. Lenore Sellers, rejuvenated new offensive coordinator. That could be a sneaky good game. Two teams desperate for a win. But I'll still take South Carolina. I'll take the Gamecocks.
Okay. Now we get to some really the meat part of their schedule because at Florida, Florida's going to be a lot better than they were last year. It's almost by default. I got Florida winning that one. What about you?
Absolutely. Florida. Florida, in my opinion, is going to be the singularly most them and LSU are going to be the two most improved teams in the conference next year.
All right.
It's not even going to be close.
Next two games, Tennessee at OU. I've got both of those as L's. Bo?
Yes.
All right. ATM at home, I have that as an L.
Yes.
Okay. Are you, was that a question? Are you sure? You didn't
No.
sound confident.
Well, sitting here looking. I mean, again, I don't even know who the offensive coordinator is yet at South Carolina. I haven't
Yeah.
dug in. I haven't dug into them yet. But again, at home, if they have the right coordinator and that offense is cooking, they win that game.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
given the condition and the state of the two teams and how the two teams have operated in the portal, based on what they have coming back, I'll still take ATM.
yeah. And this is all just crapshoot stuff. We're just killing time and having fun. Of course, there's a lot. There's a lot that's going to happen, coach wise, roster wise. All kinds of stuff's going to happen between now and then. It's just a fun way to kind of kill the time in between now and spring practice. All right, at Arkansas, guaranteed
Win,
dub.
win,
All right, Georgia,
loss.
that's going to be a loss, and so they'll be 5-6, best case scenario, and they're going to have to win at Clemson. And I'm calling for the upset. I think they'll beat Clemson.
Yeah, they've
6-6, get to a bowl game.
yeah they've done well the last few years at Clemson. They lost this past year again. Offense. I mean, the defense completely shut Clemson down. The offense couldn't get anything going. But I'll say this: at the rate Clemson's going, their entire roster is going to be poached here pretty soon. So it really don't matter.
Yeah,
If you all don't know the whole thing with Pete Golding and Ole Miss, and I just find it more than ridiculous that anybody would even complain about it. Miami did the same thing to Duke. Nobody batted an eye. I mean, almost the same thing. Hollywood Smothers commits to Alabama, enrolls in classes, miraculously ends up at Texas. It's the same deal. And somebody said, "Oh, well, there's actual proof." Well, give me a break.
yeah,
The NCAA has lost every case they've taken to court. Every one. And nothing's going to happen. I'm telling you guys. I don't care. What are they going to do to Pete Golding? What are they going to do?
well,
They're going to find him, suspend him, and then he'll sue them, and then they'll lose again. I would.
yeah.
I'd,
Well,
I'd sue their asses every time something happens.
well, the N in NCAA stands for neutered, so I think we
Yeah,
can all agree on that.
yeah, totally absurd.
All right, so I had them just going off of this and having some fun. 6-6 South Carolina fans going to a bowl game. Let us know in the comments for this way too early prediction. All right, on to Vanderbilt. First three: Austin P, Delaware, NC State, 3-0. What you got?
Should be, yeah, that NC State game. I think that's a home game.
It is.
They should be good there. NC State's another one of those programs. They have really been hit hard by the portal. I mean, the portal and NIL has really hurt their program. But I'll still take. I don't know what that quarterback is going to look like from Vanderbilt. But I'll still side with Clark Leah and his staff being able to, especially with this. It looks like this game's at home, being able to win this game.
Yep. All right. Next two: at Auburn, at Georgia. I got LL.
LL.
Both of those.
LL. I just think Vanderbilt, and we talked about this on the last show. Vanderbilt takes a step back. I mean, the amount of firepower that they're losing. Vanderbilt, I have it here on my rosters. I mean, they're losing 6 players to the NFL. When was the last time Vanderbilt had 6 players drafted off of one team, including the greatest player in program history, Diego Pavia? So to sit there and say that, do what?
In 1 year or over the course of 10 years?
What's that?
Having 6 players drafted in 1 year, or
Oh, I know. They've got 6 with draft grades projected to be drafted this year. You know, in maybe the last 5 years they haven't had 6 drafted. I mean, I'm not exactly sure. I haven't looked, but and then you take Pavi out of the mix, and they're going to take a step back. I mean, how much of a step? I don't know. Clark Lee he's got his stuff together. Him, Jerry Kill with that offense, they know what they're doing, guys. That coaches, I complained about some of the coaching in the SEC. That's not one of the staffs. They're really good. I think they're really good.
Yeah, I got them. 6-6 at this record. Okay, so we said Auburn, Georgia, lost.
Loss.
Come home against Ole Miss. I think that's a loss.
That's a loss.
All right, so their next two: Arkansas at Kentucky. I have them as wins.
Win-win.
and at Mississippi State is a win. So now you're
I don't,
6-3.
I'll look Mississippi State. Let's for just a moment, let's spitball about Mississippi State here. Jeff Lebby finally building some momentum. He's got his quarterback. They had a decent recruiting class. They've done okay in the portal. Again, Mississippi State could be another one of those teams drastically improved talent wise, but it may not show in the win and loss column. I think Lebby is a really good offensive mind, but Mississippi State, I think they're the most financially challenged team in the conference. So, but I'll still with that game at Mississippi State, I say it's a 50-50.
Fair enough. All right, last three. Bama, we said was already a loss. At Florida, I think is a loss, and versus Tennessee, I think so. They're going to end up with 3 straight losses at minimum.
They have a much tougher schedule this year than they had last year too.
Yeah, those last 3 are bad.
You got Tennessee, Florida, and I'm telling you, Florida's going to be really good. John Sumrall is exactly what Florida needs. Alex Golish is exactly what Auburn needs. Will Stein is exactly what Kentucky needs. I'll talk more about the coaching in a minute, but Florida is going to be very good this year.
Yeah, I agree. I couldn't agree more. All right, so out of those two, which one does Coach Bo, which schedule does Coach Bo prefer?
Give me South Carolina's schedule. I know you kind of got that murderer's row at the end, but I'll take Oklahoma, A&M, Arkansas, Georgia, Clemson, because I think Clemson is a 6-6 team now. And we have watched their demise, it's just like a death by 1,000 cuts, that program. And when they lost that opening game to LSU this year, that absolutely broke their back. Much in the way when Penn State lost to Oregon, that just broke their back and they gave out. Because they had put so much into that. We get to play the big team on the national scale, on the national side of things. I'm talking both. And they both laid an egg in those games. And it just broke their backs, and they never really recovered, either one of them.
Yeah.
So I would take that because I think Arkansas is very winnable. That's an incredibly winnable game. In A&M, you get A&M at home, so I'll take that over finishing with Bama, Florida, Tennessee. I'm telling you, those are 3 guaranteed L's right there.
Yeah. Plus, you only have 4 conference road games for South Carolina, and you got 5 with Vanderbilt. So that's a difference. Yeah. All right. Next set. Florida, LSU. Florida opens up first 2. Florida Atlanta, Florida Atlantic, and the Campbell Camels. 2-0, without a doubt.
The Campbell Camels.
Isn't that what Campbell is? The Campbell Camels?
The Campbell Camels. Smoke them if you got them.
So they're easily 2. They may not even give up a point in these 2 games.
Nah.
I got them 2-0 at Auburn. I think I picked Auburn to win because it was at home, but I could honestly see that one go either way, but I'll stick with what I had.
Yeah, I kind of like Auburn in that game, but I think it's 50-50 because when it comes down to it, Florida has more talent. Florida will have more talent, and John Sumrall will have that team more focused. He will have them more ready to play. They will play with a little more of an edge because I've got some insider information on Sumrall. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm going to say. Oh, it's nothing like, earth shattering, but it just gives me reason to believe in Sumrall. I'll share it with you here in a little bit, but.
All right. Come home against Ole Miss. I would do probably a slight lean for Florida.
I like Florida in that game.
Yeah.
I like Florida in that game. I don't like the vibe going around Ole Miss right now. I really don't, because you had all those players leave. When that whole thing went down about the new players coming in, were getting more money, and the old players found out, and I don't like what Golding's doing. Just the blatant, outright, just stealing players from other teams. There's nothing. He did not break any rules because there are no more rules. Okay, I just kind of don't like the whole dynamic. Of course, you got a whole off season to get that fixed. So, but give me Florida as of right now.
All right, 5-6 at Missouri, home against South Carolina. I got 2 wins there.
Be be careful of Missouri, especially coming off of two big games again that will be very physical. Okay, because Golish wants to run the football. They want to be physical at the point of attack. Golding's a defensive coordinator. Most defensive guys that are head coaches is run the football, play defense. You come off of back-to-back, very physical games. Then you got to go to Missouri. But I still think that Florida will have a better roster.
Yeah. Look, I'm not saying Florida's going to go in there and blow them out. I'm just saying it's going to be a win.
No,
it could be by 1 point or it could be by 3.
In the Southeastern Conference, there's not a ton of blowouts. There's really not. Usually, if there are blowouts, go look at the turnover column. And that's usually somebody has a turnover game that causes it. But most games in the Southeastern Conference are decided by less than 2 scores.
Yep. All right. Game 7 at Texas. They're taking the L on that one. I think that's a revenge game for Texas.
Oh yeah, absolutely. After last year, you better believe it. Give me the horns. Give me the horns in that one.
Texas will be extra focused for that game. And according to the big wigs who do the media, Arch Manning his Heisman campaign will be halfway over after that game as far as the season. So he'll be a Heisman favorite. All right, Georgia, they're going to take an L. Of course, that's in Jacksonville.
Yeah, I was going to say, remember, that's the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. They call it the Atlanta Gridiron Classic. Screw that. It's the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. And that's what it has always been. And that's what it will always be. And I will not call it anything but that.
You dang right. And Florida, Georgia fans, let us know in the comments how asinine it is that they took away cocktail party from your rivalry, because that's absolutely dumb. All right.
So dumb.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like when they took the north-south away from the Senior Bowl, because it was they said it was too I forget it's like it's just ridiculous. It's always been north-south. Just stop.
Yeah. All right. Come home against Oklahoma. I'll lean Florida in this one. Bo?
Give me the Gators in that one.
All right. Last 3. I think this will be a no-brainer. At Kentucky, Vandy, at Florida State. I think they go 3-0.
And I'm calling it now. Okay. Florida is making the playoff this year.
Ooh.
That's my surprise team to make the playoff this year. I was saving it till we got to the end of till we got to the end of their schedule. I think Florida will make the playoff this year.
All right, Gators, let us know in the comments. Coach Bo says you're going to the playoffs.
Okay, so
way too early.
Yeah, here's my thing about Sumrall is the former pitching coach at South Alabama. All right, his name's Brad Phillips. His wife taught with my wife, so we got to know them very well over his time here. Well, before he came to South Alabama, he was the pitching coach at Troy. John Sumrall was a position coach at Troy for Troy football. Now, Sumrall is from Huntsville. He played football. He played linebacker at Kentucky. So then a spot opened up in Kentucky, and he went to Kentucky, and he was basically heading up their recruiting. And remember that stretch where Kentucky, all of a sudden, they started making bowl games every year? Okay, well, he was right in the middle of that, recruiting all those players, getting all those players, recruiting Ohio very well, and getting some of those players into Kentucky. Then he went to Troy as the head coach. Then he went to Tulane as a head coach. And then, of course, now he's at Florida. And I am telling you, he's a no-nonsense, straight shooter. He's a hard-nosed guy. He wants to run the football, play defense. He is exactly what Florida needs right now. They need a head coach to come in and to take the bull by the horn, so to speak, and to make that the program that it should be, the program that we grew up watching when Steve Spurrier and the Florida Gators were just dominant.
Yeah, hey, sounds good. I mean, in this day and age of the portal, look at Indiana. You go from 2-10 to winning a championship in 2 years.
All it takes is one good infusion of cash, one good portal class, And that's why that the argument that I've made about there's no such thing as a best conference anymore, because things are so fluid, and teams can be up, teams can be down so fast. It can literally happen in one recruiting cycle.
Yep.
It used to be 3 years, because you'd have to wait to get in your first two recruiting classes and get them up to about their junior year. Okay, and then that third year is when you could kind of see teams, whether they were gonna pop or not. Now it's keep your guys, get one good portal class, have one good recruiting class, get a couple of impact young guys to go with those older guys, and boom, you're right in the playoff, just like the NFL. Just like the NFL.
All right, now let's move on to the Fighting Tigers of Red Stick. I mean, if everything happens that they say is going to happen as far as the coaching and all the players they're getting, you're going to be kind of hard pressed to find a loss on LSU's schedule this year. But we'll try. All right, Clemson, Louisiana Tech at Ole Miss. I think 2-0, but I'm telling you what, that at Ole Miss is going to be a hate fest war.
The LSU Tigers will most definitely need a police escort in and out of that building, especially if they go in there and win. That game could get that. And we talked about it on the previous show. Those are two fan bases really don't like each other to begin with. But then you add all this stuff that's happened, the lawsuits. Man, this could be an all-timer, guys. I cannot wait for that game. I am going to watch, even if my daughter has a home game, South Alabama has a home game, and we go to the game here, I'm going to make sure I record that game and come home and watch every bit of it, because that's going to be something else.
Yeah, that's going to be one that I think it's going to be a night game in Oxford, without a doubt.
It's got to be. It's got to be. If that game is an 11 o'clock kickoff, I swear I'm going to scream. That'd be absurd. That'd be absurd.
So you're telling me the three Daves are going to do the game on the old Lincoln Financial?
Dave, and Dave are coming out of retirement for one last game.
Yeah, Dave Neal, Dave Rowe, and Dave Baker. We did
Dave,
have
Dave and Dave.
Okay, so I'm going to give a shout out to somebody in the mob. Okay, I had to really get to it because my eyes are bad. I can't hardly see this. But last show I asked LSU and Ole Miss fans who they hated more. And Louisiana sports fan 656 said LSU fan hate Bama more, Ole Miss hates us more, as in us as in LSU. So there you go. That answers my question. Hey, appreciate it. I love the honesty. And yes, the feelings mutual, corn dogs. Respectfully. I actually don't mind LSU. I love that rivalry, even though it's like our third rival.
Well, anyway. The fact that they offered my daughter a cheer scholarship, I'll never dislike LSU.
Yeah. The home games at LSU are, on a different planet. That's a great atmosphere in Baton Rouge. Nothing but weird to say nothing but love for the corn dogs. But yeah, it's a great top 5 definitely in college football down there in Louisiana. All right, so then we got Texas A&M win, McNeese, and at Kentucky. I think they'll be 3-0 there. So at worst, unless something bad happens at Ole Miss, at worst 5-1. I still say maybe 6-0 at that point. Then you got Mississippi State at Auburn, and then Bama win. A tough road game at Auburn. I think they'll get the win, and then we both gave the edge to LSU at home against Bama.
Yeah, that's a win.
Okay.
That's a win. And the thing with Lane Kiffin is if you go and look at his wide receiver room, this may be the best wide receiver room he's ever had, and I don't say that lightly, because that I forget his name. That number 14 from LSU, he's coming back. They just got the Wilson kid from Florida, who's a first-round pick. They got a really good under-the-radar guy from Hawaii. Yeah, Hawaii. The guy can play, okay? He played in an air raid system. The guy understands route concepts. He understands space. The guy can play. And then they got another one. I forgot where. When I saw that, I said, good gracious. I mean, it's outrageous. I mean, they are stacked on offense, and then they went and got Sam Levitt. Sam Levitt actually has more than one receiver now to throw to, so that's gonna help him as well.
All right. And then it goes Texas at Tennessee at Arkansas. That you know what? That's at Auburn, Bama, Texas at Tennessee.
That's a
That's a
gauntlet
tough
right
stretch.
there. But at least you got to buy there. At least you got to
Yeah.
buy there before you start that tough stretch of games. And I'll tell you this: the battle for the boot. If something doesn't go right, or they get really banged up in those 3 games before, because I mean we've seen it. We see it every year. These teams, they play those tough stretch of games, and they take 4, 5, 6 injuries. That's all it takes. Especially now, teams don't have the depth they used to have.
Yeah.
But I do want to get into a discussion at some point about the 105 versus 85 scholarships. I do want to address that at some point. But that game at Arkansas, the battle for the boot, that's a pretty competitive game. Always a competitive game as well.
Yeah. So I mean, LSU 10-2 at worst,
At worst,
12-0.
and I think that's going to be the norm at LSU for as long as Lane's there. They've got a ton of money to spend. They've guaranteed him tons of money to spend. He's got a great recruiting base there in Louisiana. He knows how to work the portal. Him and Signetti are the portal kings right now. Until somebody else figures out a way to do it better than those two, you'll never hear me doubt Lane Kiffin.
Yeah. And let's be honest, that ride won't end until Alabama comes open. Ain't that right, Bo?
Something like that.
Just kid. Just a little jab to the LSU fans.
No,
All right. So,
honestly, I don't think Lane Kiffin will ever be in Tuscaloosa again, except for on the opposing sideline.
yeah.
I think some of the stuff that came out that took place when he was there. That's the kind of stuff that doesn't go away. So
Yeah.
we'll just leave it at that. Thank him for his service and wish him well.
All right. So of those two, which one does Coach Bo, which schedule does he like more, or would you rather have as a coach?
I don't want this one. That back end. I mean, you got Auburn, and then a bye week. But then you got Bama, Texas, Tennessee, and then a team that always gets up to play you tough in the Arkansas Razorbacks. I mean, I remember some of those games when they had Darren McFadden and Felix Jones, and man, those were
Peyton
Hillis. Those were some awesome games. They didn't even have a quarterback. They would just put all those backs on the field, and they just run wildcat. There's just motions. It's just craziness all over the place. Like Hank Stram, the old Kansas City Chiefs coach, said it looked like a Chinese fire drill out there. There's just people running everywhere, and then there goes McFadden ripping one off for about 65. But those were some fun games.
So what are we running? The 65 toss power trap?
Something like that.
That was Hank Stram in that Super Bowl. Don't you remember those highlights? 65 toss power trap.
Oh yeah.
All right. So
now the verbiage is so long it takes they got to do everything on the headset now because they good grief. Anyway.
All right. So I will let you get into your scholarship. I don't know if it's a rant or whatever you want to call it, but
no, it's not really a rant. Actually, what I was going to talk about first was the talent, the draftable players, and the kind of and I wanted to address some comments that were made, and I do appreciate the comments because I want to let you know how I get my information. Okay, some of it is with the old eye test. I think that's still a premium. If you understand football, you know talent when you see it. 2, in all my years of coaching, I spoke with a lot of coaches. I talked to coaches that if I said their names right now, probably everybody on the show would know their names. But I'm not going to disclose those names because I'm going to keep that information and those conversations and those names to myself. But it also gives me some insight that it helps me form some opinions that just your average person doesn't get to get. That's one thing. And then also too, the other thing I look at every week, I don't look at the AP. The AP is a joke. It's a joke. Look at the AP when it starts and then look at it when it's finished. It's not even close to being the same. Okay. Number 2, the coaches poll. Let me let you in on a little secret on the coaches poll. the coaches don't actually fill those out. Some GA is forced to do it. And I know that because coaches have told me that. Okay? At most schools, that some GA fills that out every week and sends it in. It's not the coach, Nick Saban's not sitting down in his office filling that out. I promise you. Okay? 3, the playoff standings are so bad and so ridiculous throughout the course of the season that they gave us 2 G5 teams. So in a lot of cases, I don't even look at that. So where do I get my information from? My number one go-to is always Phil Steele. He has a wonderful webpage that's just, it's got so much good information. You have to pay for a yearly subscription. It's about $100, but you have access to all kinds of information and stats and statistics. And one of the things he puts on his front page every week, and this is free of charge, and anybody can go find it, is the Las Vegas power ratings. Now, the Las Vegas power ratings are how the boys in Vegas, out in the desert, actually put a hard number on a game. And that's what I look at. I don't listen to the people in the media. We've talked about how nonsense some of that stuff is. I don't look at the polls. I look at where the money's at. Very simple. And somebody on here made a comment about that Northwestern would beat half the teams in the Southeastern Conference. Well, I have always been under the assumption that you follow the money, and that the people with the money, they really know what's going on. And so when every team in the Southeastern Conference is power rated in the top 50, and 11 teams in the I think it's 11 teams in the Big Ten are rated between 55 and 80, there's a difference. And we talk about all the time the strength of the SEC from top to bottom, as where in the Big Ten there's more of a concentration at the top. Now those teams at the top are very good. We talk about it all the time. I mean, we watch it. Okay, and I do like the fact this year that in the Big Ten there are going to be more marquee games in the Big Ten. It just seemed like this year maybe it was just pure happenstance. I don't know. But it just seemed like there was a lot of that. There weren't very many big games. It was a lot of the teams at the top just beating up on the teams at the bottom. But this year, there's a lot more marquee games. But just as an example, this is what I'm talking about. Arkansas, who right now has 7, 8 draftable players. If they played Northwestern on a neutral field right now, when the teams ended the season, Arkansas would have been a 2.5-point favorite. That's not Coach Bo saying that. That's the boys in the desert saying that. I am just reading off of the piece of paper. Okay? Arkansas still finished number 49 in the power poll and still finished with a top 20 offense. They were just so damn poorly coached. They didn't win many games. What'd they go, Chad? 2-10? Isn't that what you said? They went 2-10. Go ahead.
And if every I think they lost 6 games by like 6 points or less. So
yeah, so
it is what it is with that.
Yeah, it is what it is. So if Arkansas played 9 teams in the Big Ten, they would be favored, and Arkansas won 2 games and no conference games. And this is the stuff I look at, guys, because those boys know the difference. And also I want to point one more thing out. At the end of the season, Georgia had the highest power rating in the SEC at a 130. The lowest power rated team was Arkansas at 112. So in other words, if they played on a neutral field, Georgia would be favored by 18. Okay? Ohio State finished the regular season with the highest power rating in the Big Ten at 137. Purdue was 101. So if they played on a neutral field, Ohio State would be favored by 36 points over Purdue. So this is what we talk about the gap between the haves and the have-nots in the conferences. And one last thing about the strength of the rosters. It's truly amazing that you look at some of these teams and, somebody snapshotted a picture of how bad Florida was this year, and they were. And they should Billy Napier should be ashamed of himself. Right now on their roster, This isn't counting the guys like Eugene Wilson that left, and there was 2 or 3 other guys that left. Florida has 10 players right now with a draft grade that are expected to be drafted. They won 2 conference games, which is completely insane. LSU, Brian Kelly goes 7-5 with a team that has 9 draftable players, and they finished toward the bottom of the conference. Arkansas, who finished last, has 7 draftable players, not to mention the guys that have already left that do have draft grades, or they will have draft grades next year. They're just not old enough. But when you get picked up in the top 100 in the transfer portal, I'm going to assume that you are going to get a draft grade. You are a sought after commodity. Also, there were, if you take all the draftable players in the SEC right now, there was 118. Now, keep in mind the SEC has two fewer teams, and the Big Ten has 92. And then once you get past Illinois, there's only 2 teams that have 4 or more draftable players, and that's Nebraska with 6, which that really surprised me, and UCLA with 4. Everybody else has 3 or less in the conference. And that's what we talk about the talent differential between the 2 conferences. Now, what I would love to see happen, I would love to see, they do it in basketball, damn it. They should be able to do it in football. Have a week 0, follow me now, a week 0 where you have an SEC Big Ten showdown. Do it every year. Do a home and home. Okay? And then that third year, mix up your teams, do a home and home. It would be great football. It would be really good football because there's a lot of really good teams in both conferences. And other people, there's a lot of people out there that the Big Ten's dominating college football. I don't think they're dominating college football. I mean, because I see a lot of bad football here, but for different reasons. I see bad football in the Southeastern Conference because there's so many bad coaching jobs that were done this past year. I mean, Arkansas, South Carolina. I mean, South Carolina has 5 draftable players right now. That's not counting the 3 or 4 that have already left that will be drafted, and not to mention Sellers, who's not being drafted. I mean, they probably had 12 draftable players on their team, and they didn't even qualify for a bowl game. Florida, LSU. I mean, these teams are loaded with NFL talent. Terrible coaching jobs, terrible. Now, and I see some of these bad jobs in the Big Ten due to a lack of top-end talent. Although it does appear to me that some of these Big Ten teams are focused more on team building. Like, for example, Iowa. Now, Iowa's one of the better teams in the conference. They lose 27 seniors. Now, I went and looked at their portal pickups, and they're all like D2 lower-rated guys, and they're going to take these guys, and they're going to build them, and they're going to try to make another run at it next year or maybe in 2 years. But that's where Chad, what I was talking about earlier about the 105 scholarships. So basically now you're going to take those, 20-30 scholarships, and you're basically going to have a minor league farm system with those players. You're going to take guys from South Dakota State, North Dakota State, and Villanova, and Nichols State, down here in Louisiana, or some guys at South Alabama, and you're going to bring them in, and basically that's going to be your taxi squad. That's what I think is going to happen. That's just Coach Bo looking at this through a coach's eyes. That's what I would do. I would try to go get as many low-level talent guys as I could that want to come to the university, whatever, and come to a big school and work and try to work their way up. And I would have basically a taxi squad. That's just me, and that's the way I see college football. Everything is fluid. Everything is fluid, and the talent in the SEC is more spread out than it's ever been. The talent in the Big Ten is more concentrated at the top. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, look, Ohio State's got 13 draftable guys, Indiana 10, USC 10, Penn State 11. Quality rosters, guys. Quality rosters. I will take nothing away from those teams. Michigan has 7. Oregon has 6. Then once you get past that, I mean, there's not a lot there, which I've already discussed. So we'll see 2 things. One, the coaching hires in the SEC, are they truly upgrades? And I think they are. Because for the model in the SEC for decades, for the last minimum 30 years, recruit, hoard, develop, because players couldn't leave. Go get you 3 guys, 4 guys. If 1 or 2 of them doesn't work out, it's okay. You got 1 or 2 more. Now, if 1 or 2 don't work out, the other 2 transfer out. Then what do you do? So coaching right now, in my opinion, is at an absolute premium. The talent in the Big Ten, it is just stacked at the top. But I also think there's more teams in the Big Ten that are focusing on just trying to put good teams together rather than just trying to go buy good talent. One last point. There were 17 transfers in the SEC in the portal of draftable players. All but 5 stayed in the Southeastern Conference. Okay? So, in other words, all they did, they went from one SEC team to another. In the Big Ten, there were 8. 6 of those left the conference, and at least 5 of them came to the SEC, and I can't remember where the other one went. 2 went to Bama, the Tompkins from USC, and then Green from Oregon. Then also that stud edge rusher from Penn State followed Jim Knowles, went to Tennessee. So anyway, that's a large concentration of talent. You think about, well, that's not that many players. Take those 17 plus those 6. That's an offense and a defense, guys. That's a lot of players. That's a lot of players. That's depth there too. So we'll see how it all shakes out. But Big Ten, I don't hate you guys. All I do is I just look at the paper and I just read what's on the paper, and I go to my sources and I read what they have down, because they're some of the most trusted names in college football. Okay, so don't hate the player, hate the game is what I'm saying. Anybody can go read those Vegas numbers and read exactly what I'm telling you, and you can see the differential how Vegas views the 2 conferences. Also, too, something else that was interesting, it was like Ohio State 1, Indiana 2, Oregon 4. The highest power-rated SEC team was Georgia at 5. And it's kind of that way to start this year. I think the best odds to win the national championship is Texas, and I think they're like 6th or 7th on the list. So, I mean, the SEC's still there. There's more teams getting into the top, but it's going to be the same teams: Oregon, Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, USC. Those are going to be your 5 that are going to pretty much control the Big Ten. And then the SEC, you still got Bama, Georgia, Texas A&M spending a ton of money, Texas spending a ton of money, Oklahoma's in the mix, Tennessee's in the mix. I mean, Florida's retooled. LSU is spending as much or more money than anybody in college football. So, it's basically, in my opinion, you're going to have 5 or 6 teams in each conference. And of those 5 or 6 teams, 3 or 4 are going to make the playoff every year. And then you might have a surprise team here and there. So there you have it.
Well,
That's the way I see college football right now today. But the fluidity and the way everything changes, my opinion, might change next week. So stay tuned.
All right. Well said. Good Lord. All right.
Well,
So I'm going to shout out at McFrisco, and you kind of already touched base on this anyway, but I want to ask anyway. McFrisco asked, do you think the SEC will be able to stop Big Ten from dominating college football? You kind of answered that. They're really not dominating. Well, they've won 3 in a row, but
first off, great name, McFrisco. I love it. Number 2, yes, the Big Ten has won the last 3 championships, but I say 3 with an asterisk, because Michigan had to cheat for 4 hard years before they finally got to win their championship. So I don't really, and I don't care that they beat Alabama. They could have beaten Kansas for all I care. My opinion would be exactly the same. Um, but again, the portal and NIL control college football, and the teams that can work those systems the best are going to come out on top. And I mean, Indiana's going to have their work cut out for them this year. Their schedule is exponentially tougher this year, and like their entire roster, especially on the offensive side, they're losing a lot of defensive guys too. But I mean, they're going to have a huge turnover, and it gets a little bit tougher for them this year. So we'll see what Cignetti's got and his staff. Now, the other problem Indiana's going to have is eventually those coordinators are going to start getting plucked from him, and then you got to keep replacing guys. But can the SEC, to answer your question, McFrisco? Yes, the SEC can stop the quote unquote dominance because there is a lot of money being spent. There's a lot of talent being acquired into the SEC. The coaching is exponentially better this year. You know, it's interesting. And one thing, like we were talking about college basketball the other day, the SEC, for those of you who didn't hear this on a previous show, the SEC hired a firm to come in and said, our basketball's terrible. Please help us out. What do we need to do to have better basketball? First thing they said you got to upgrade your coaching. You got to upgrade your facilities. And last year, 14 teams from the SEC made the tournament, and everybody went bananas. There's no way that 14 teams should make the NCAA tournament in this day and age. And every time there was an advancement in rounds, half the teams were from the SEC, and then the SEC won the championship, and then everybody just shut up. And it wasn't that, oh, the SEC, this is probably the best overall league we've seen in the last 25 years. It was, no, we're just going to ignore it and pretend it didn't happen. Okay, so I think football is kind of doing the same thing because, again, football was always recruit, hoard, develop. That doesn't exist anymore. Now it's recruit, buy, and patch your holes. So, and I think the SEC is finally coming around to working the portal, as evident by all the talent that's been acquired in the portal. And it won't be long at all before we have two SEC teams playing again for the national championship. It's going to happen. Or you have 2 or 3 teams in the Final Four, and an SEC team's going to win it. And I promise you, everybody's going to scream to the high heavens and say, we got to change the system again.
You heard it here first. All right. That does it for this show. But let me remind you, if we get 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, we will start doing live shows. So that means you Big Ten fans can insult us in real time. I said at the beginning of the show, the only problem is I don't think none of you are man enough to do it. So subscribe, prove me wrong. Let's get 1,000 subscribers. We'll go live, and then you can tell us how dumb we are in real time. But again, I don't think y'all are man enough to do it, so prove me wrong. All right, so that'll do it for this edition of the 4th and 31 podcast. For Coach Bo, I am the Chad Bullock. We will see you next time.